Hello and welcome to Plate Stack Chat. If you are new here, my name is Jason or Jason Sif Media on Instagram. And on this show, I like to bring on some interesting guests for a chat. And I think we've got some good ones for you today. Now, before we welcome them to the show, just a quick thank you to our sponsor, Strivey. If you haven't checked out their app and you are looking for something to help share your programming, head on over to strivey.app and see what they can do for you. So grid season has kicked off, and what I love about that is it introduces us to some incredible athletes we might not have seen before. And today we are welcoming some rookie players to the show from the Las Vegas Venom. So first up, we have a bodyweight specialist who you will usually find flipping through the air, walking on her hands, or hanging upside down from a ring. But hopefully we can keep her right way up for the duration of the show. She's a former national gymnast, a regional CrossFit athlete, and a coach with more than 15 years of experience. Please welcome the fabulous Dani Berry.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. I mean, I'm a little bit anxious because with both you and our next guest, there's been a lot of talk of chaos. So I'm not sure what to expect, but I'm sure it's going to be lovely. But let's bring up our second guest because we are jumping completely to the other end of the grid spectrum. We actually have a strength specialist joining Dani on the Venoms this season. So she started CrossFit to help her with competitive horse riding. But once she was bitten by that CrossFit bug, there was no turning back. You will see her competing at CrossFit events. She's represented Team USA at the National Fitness Championships. And of course, most importantly, the Venoms. It is the lovely Lydia Smith.
Hello.
Hello, Lydia, who, just before the show, we were just talking about that you're just not happy with Smith as being the most exciting name, but it's fine. It's fine.
Full comment.
But we know who we're talking about. It's Lydia Smith. It's that one. And of course, last but not least, we have the man with a plan. He is the coach of the Las Vegas Venoms, maybe trying to bring order to chaos, or more likely embracing the chaos and adding to it. Please welcome back Coach Paul Behar.
Adding more chaos.
Adding more chaos, yeah. I mean, I've got like a list of things.
The creator of chaos, if we're being honest.
Creator of chaos. Interesting. Well, on that note, I have a list of things that I was like, oh, we could talk about this, or I could mention that, or I could ask you a question about this. First of all, there's been some interesting posts going up on your Instagram recently for the Venoms. You are really like calling your shot against the Sharks. There's a lot of interesting graphics being posted up, images. Who's behind all of that?
It's all Nick Andre.
Of course it is. Of course it is. What a stupid question. Why did I even ask?
Go get him. The internet needs to go and attack him right now.
And interestingly, they can now, because last time he was on the show, he was like, he didn't have social media, like that didn't exist for him. But now he's joined us, so people can go and find him. They can. He wasn't there though on your first match.
He wasn't.
He was not there. He was. He had.
Our guy works. It was Memorial Day weekend for car sales. It's one of the biggest weekends to go in and buy your board and get out. So we hope that our guy made some sales that were worthy of missing our first match. But he will be there at our next one. So don't you worry.
I see. Okay. Well, Nick, all is forgiven. But okay, no surprise that he's behind this, and his brother has joined him on the team this year. Is that also true? Am I correct in?
Yeah, his brother is on the team. He also was closing on his house in the first match. So I guess in the order of priorities, playing grid and buying a house I know they're really close to each other, especially level of importance to your life. But I guess he chose the one that was a little less important.
Yeah. Well, he's still got a lot more matches to come.
With some chaos. Half of our roster was not there, and we still crushed it. So let's just get that out on the table and go on with it.
Yeah, I mean that was Paul's interview right there. Was sort of, hey, we're look how well we're doing with half a team. Imagine if we had a whole team.
We love our boys, so we're gonna show up and show out in Tampa But we definitely started this season off with a perfect storyline of an underdog.
Yeah. So it's just all for the drama. You guys love drama.
Obviously, we're a walking telenovela.
Oh, really? Okay. I can't wait for your evil twin to turn up, and then we find out.
I don't have an evil twin. I think that my only toxic association would be our Stay Toxic on our team and some Britney Spears jams here and there. But I am definitely notoriously more of your bubbly hype man athlete and coach. And chaos really just comes from ignoring street laws. I am going to climb a street pole if I want to climb a street pole, and I'm absolutely going to do handstands where I shouldn't do handstands. But if you're not the police, I really should be fine.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely not the police, and even if I was the police, I'd be the police of a completely different country, so you'd be absolutely fine with me. I don't know what your laws are, so that's no problem. I'm curious how you both ended up on the Venoms, or like in Grid in the first place. So, and was
Lydia,
it just?
how did
Yeah,
you
Lydia.
end up with us?
So I got a DM through Instagram, and that's how I found out about it. Paul reached out to me, and Dakota Shackleton as well reached out to me, and he was. I didn't know that the Venom team messaged me because it was in like my hidden requests, and then
Yeah.
Dakota.
Yeah, I've blocked them as well. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Dakota, I had met him like once a year ago, and so he found me on Instagram, messaged me, and was like, "Hey, you got a message from Paul. I think you should totally join Grid." And so I was like, I'll think about it."
Right. Did you do the tryouts, or you just jumped straight on the team?
Nope, just jumped right in.
See, this is interesting because we were talking about this. I think I was talking to Griffin, who had done the tryouts for years, even before joining a team. And it seems like a lot of people didn't do the tryouts this year and got onto teams. But that's potential money left on the table. You guys could have even just still gone to the Venoms, but at least done the tryouts and picked up some money for your hard effort. But anyway, next season, do it next season. We'll stream it live. Lydia, what's interesting is I realized in preparing for this show, because occasionally I do a tiny bit of research and I prepare, is that we have probably maybe bumped into each other, or I've at least seen you compete live because you were in Budapest.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was in Budapest.
I was in Budapest.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah, not competing. Let's
Yeah.
get one thing absolutely clear straight away. Not competing, but and I saw that we have sort of a mutual acquaintance, friend for you, acquaintance for me, in Emily Anderson.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm friends with Emily.
Yeah,
I go to Puerto Rico every now and then and compete with her. So
yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
So I was like, let me do a little bit of research on this strength specialist. I start scrolling and I was like, hold on, that all looks very familiar, and I recognize these people, and I was like, cool, wow, wonderful.
Yeah.
So is that how they kind of? I'm just wondering, because you got a DM, so I'm just curious as to kind of how you were spotted, like what it was that you were doing.
How I got into IF3.
Well, no, just in general. Like,
Emily is getting a DM from me pretty soon. That's for sure.
Oh, of course, because there are other Grid players that were on that team, actually, on the Puerto Rico team.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
so,
I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think Paul found me through like a Instagram reel I posted.
Oh, really?
Oh, like a while ago. Yeah. it was like a clean and jerk.
There you go. And he was like, it's like strength specialist, tick.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice. What about you, Danny?
I would say that my story is a little bit simpler. I've been very close with Alex Smith for the last 7 years. And he decided to do Grid this season and was like, do you want to come out of retirement and do some handstands? And I was like, sure. So I hopped on a call with Paul, and I also was just like, well, I'm here now. And whether or not I try out and make it or not, I'm a part of this team. So,
All right.
yeah.
Whether I make it or not, I'm a part of this team.
Yeah, I'm just kind of.
You were just going to turn up and sort of stand there anyway, even if you didn't make it.
Correct. So I was just kind of, on the team.
Well, Hey, it clearly worked out for you. It seems like Alec was really a key recruiter for the team. He seems to have brought a
Yes.
lot of players on. Is it
Yeah.
Nick? It wasn't like Nick and all of that also sort of through Alec and friends with him. Am I
Yep,
remembering
they all
correctly?
train at the same. They're all at the same gym over at Krypton in Virginia. So Alec has been in this space for a really long time. I don't think you have a better veteran. So he comes along with a lot of really great connections, and I think we're all pretty fortunate to have been recruited by him and or pulled out of retirement by him, and or the calm and the chaos for the most part for the last few weeks.
Nice, interesting. I'm curious also about the whole, and I don't know, Danny and Lydia, you probably can't speak to this as much as Paul can, but the move to Vegas. What's the story there?
Yeah, the move to Vegas, and gotta give Dakota those flowers the same way as Alec too, because almost any time that I sent a DM to an athlete like Lydia, and they like weren't messaging me back, I would be like, Dakota, go message this person and tell them to text me back, and like they would be following. So like he was super well connected with a lot of people the same way as Alec was, and after meeting and being in Vegas for a while in the champion or the doubleheader match last year, we just really wanted to like rebrand, find something that would be really fun and like a really cool new culture to like push the Venom into a new era. And meeting Dakota, meeting also another partner of mine, Ben, in Vegas was a big catalyst to the move.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing like your Instagram just full of Vegas stuff when like the Vegas story is really interesting because all the other teams, it was just like, oh, Vegas, oh, it was such a like headache and we couldn't get our players out and it seemed like everyone was having a bad time. And then I would look at your Instagram and you were just like, Vegas, yeah. And it was just so
we had
be having
so much
a better
fun.
time in Vegas.
Yeah, man. Vegas is like, me and Lydia were talking about it last night. Like, it's just, there's so many diverse things to do in Vegas. It's not just the partying and everything. There's food, there's cool things to like go and, check out in the recreational outdoors, and like anything you want to do in Vegas, you can find it.
Yeah.
And so like that was another kind of cool reason to move the team over there, just because we know that we can always go and have a good time, like for all types of, events or anything that we want to do.
And then if there's another big match in Vegas, you don't have to worry about getting there, right? That's hometown, so that should be an advantage for you.
Actually, so we're officially going to put on an event in Vegas for the Grid 6, which is super cool.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to play in the amateur level of Grid League, which is 3 males and 3 females on a team, September 4th, we are going to host a Grid 6 in Vegas. So calling out all y'all, people that are watching Grid and ever wanted to play some Grid. You don't have to go against Danny and Lydia, okay? You go against people like myself and Jason, the more on this side of the things. And
I
it's a good
appreciate
time.
you even bringing me up to that level, Paul. That's really kind of you. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that is okay. Well, I would come, but it's just a little bit far for me. So unfortunately, maybe next year. I'm kind of curious now. Then, Danny and Lydia, you've both had your first match. Was like grid speed what you expected? Was the like match for like? I realized obviously you trained for it, you practiced, you kind of had an understanding of what you were going to experience. How different was it on the day, actually being out on the grid? I like that you're both thinking about the answer.
I will say it was intense coming out of a 5-year retirement. So me and Lydia kind of exist on opposite ends of the spectrum. You have one of our oldest players and I think our youngest player. I've been retired from the CrossFit space since 2020. And so this was my first time kind of coming out and like shaking out cobwebs that exist, and also what it's like being a 30-plus-year-old athlete, because that is a whole different speed. I love the fact that we represent Vegas because in the last 5 years, I found myself as a circ performer. So it's funny that like the Vegas team was like, yeah, let's give the circus kid a shot. So coming out and doing grid was kind of like a big smack in the face. It was like getting royally assaulted by a workout that you could have been as prepared for as you wanted, but like it was like, damn, if you are the type of person who doesn't understand what stress can do to the body, I don't even want to have a conversation with you, because I have been in this space for literally 100 years, and I can tell you I spend more time upside down than I do right side up. And elephant in the room, we failed the handstand ramp, and it's like I had one job. I literally had one job. So I just want to get this out of the way and say, like, you can prepare for stuff all you want. It's super important to like get that time under tension. But come game day, when you're face to face with other athletes who like sometimes are twice your size and sometimes talking a lot of shit on the internet, your body can have a completely different plan than your head. So we went out there and it was funny, like the girls are hyping me up backstage for like a movement that I didn't even get to, and we just kind of went out there and like these girls absolutely just crushed it. And when we got to like I got to the couple no reps on that wall ball, and it was like my heart just sank, and I was like, oh, this is real. This is like being in the middle of the ocean and you're like, do I actually know how to swim? So yeah, getting that right out of the way. Stress can definitely derail any kind of plan that you could have going into it. But I'm hoping that going into Tampa, getting a lot of that adrenaline out of the way, I can align myself a little bit more with my confidence and my skill set.
Okay. So this was just a little bit more shaking out the cobwebs, right? So this was just get your feet back on the floor,
This was an
get ready for
earthquake to
competition.
my soul, if we're being
Hey.
honest. But yeah.
What better way to shake out cobwebs than an earthquake? I tell you
I
that.
had a great teammate. You know, I could not ask for a better woman to share the floor with in an instance like this. So I'm definitely curious, like Lydia, how you felt going into that, especially having a little bit more experience coming off a CrossFit floor right into grid.
Yeah. The match, honestly, I feel like I didn't really know what to expect. Like, I think what I was most stressed about going into it was figuring out where to go and just like remembering to not drop the bar on the mirror until the other dude was done with his snatches. And like things like that were just like what I was most worried about. Um, but as far as like intensity goes, I think um, it was honestly a little easier on the body than I expected it to be. Because I'm used to like CrossFit competitions where I'm doing 5 workouts in a day and I feel just totally wrecked. But with these like sprints, like I do have a body that is like built for it, and it was just nice. It was refreshing. I feel like in comparison to like a CrossFit competition. But with that said, yeah, that triad was extremely humbling, I think, for all of us girls. Yeah, I was really nervous. I was nervous about the handstand ramp because like going from the stairs first, I haven't practiced that as much as I should have. And I was really nervous about it. When I heard it got switched to the stairs first versus the ramp, I was practicing it like a lot for the competition. I was like, I don't know, Paul, like I'm 50-50 on this. I don't know if I can do it. And um yeah, it was we all got stuck there. So it was pretty humbling, I think, for all of us.
So now I'm glad we're sat through a screen and none of you can jump at me at this point. But it was for me one of the most surprising things I've seen, sort of within grid, was how many people struggled on the handstand ramp. And the reason I say that, and this is not a shot at any of you, is that usually you look at skills that show up in a grid match or a grid race, and you compare them to what you kind of see at CrossFit competitions or maybe local competitions, and they're always like leaps and bounds ahead, kind of in crazy skill, right? So like your triple touches and things like that. And then maybe now and again you might see a gymnastics complex start to crop up in a competition, and at like a local competition, it's even rarer. Whereas I feel like the handstand ramp I've seen a lot at competitions, just kind of general competitions. So I kind of just would have assumed, oh, all of these people are going to absolutely demolish this. Like, this is nothing. And then it wasn't just your team. It was like so many that were failing it. And I was like, oh, this is like really weird to see grid athletes sort of struggling on a skill where normally we see them, especially when you've got specialists, we see them really kind of outperforming, you know, these kind of moves compared to what we see just at a regular kind of CrossFit competition. So Paul's going to chime in on this. I like that he has to unmute so I can always see when he's ready to jump in. Yes, Paul.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that a lot of people don't know are the substitution rules in the sport. So at any point, you can only have 5 athletes per gender. So you might see that there's, 8 or 9 of the females that are there in that like sideline or, standing at the front of the start line, but only 5 of them can play in each of the races. And then also, if you ever bench one of those and, switch them out, then the person that you benched can't play any more races in that whole rest of the match. So when it comes down to the triad and, you have some of these key players like, Danny is the one that was doing in the sprint relay, the last race, the walking over the hands. And, you wouldn't think Danny is the best wall balls, squat cleans, and kettlebell snatches person.
No, I would.
But, you know what? Like, don't even get us started about how strong Danny is.
I saw her. What are you doing? Like clusters earlier? I saw that on Instagram. I saw her doing a load of clusters and a little note saying, "I hate Coach Paul." Wasn't it something like that?
Yeah. But so that's just the strategies where you'll have these athletes that are already pre-fatigued and doing things that they're not specialized in because of those rules, and that's just like how these athletes have to sometimes face things that aren't in their specialty or in their wheelhouse.
Yeah. So potentially,
what he's talking about like applies. And what he's talking about like applies to even what you're bringing up with the Instagram story and the clusters and me just hating Paul, because we are in these triad workouts, and when you are trying to see like how you can save face and save energy in some points, like it is going to take somebody and put them in a movement that they maybe aren't as comfortable with, like with Lydia on the stairs or like me doing wall balls to a target. Like that was one of the most, it's so simple, but it is so unbelievably frustrating. Like when you are training in spaces that have a wall and you shift to a target, it's not an excuse. It's just like, damn, I didn't think in my own head how like something so simple as a shift from something that doesn't have like a rebound effect of like you miss it by a centimeter or an inch. And 1 to 2 no rep costs you a lot of time. It costs you a lot of frustration. And then when you're going into something like a handstand ramp and you need to have yourself like calm and collected, a lot of people don't know that like when you're going upstairs, you're fighting gravity, which is pushing all of the blood down. So it's hard enough when you're doing a handstand hold, right? And you're fighting gravity just on a playing field. But when you're actually moving up the stairs, now your blood pressure is dropping at a speed. So like coming off of the wall balls, going into a movement like that, if you're not training that exact fatigue over and over and over again, the slightest little error was going to cause a fall apart in the plan. So when we're trying to figure out how to make sure going into the next triad that there's enough rest for each of our athletes who are going upside down, who need to have better balance or who might be doing the higher level skills, Paul's trying to plug and play us where he thinks is just the smartest. And I have the loudest attitude. So anytime he puts me on anything squatting, I'm just going to be a brat about it. But he knows that. So hopefully when we go into Tampa, the way that we kind of plug and play these different movements, that we all kind of go into it a little bit more confident than we did in the last one.
And I guess also, like we've already kind of addressed that you had half a roster going into that as well. So that sort of those calculations already of like, well, who can we play here? And if we bench this person, then they're out. Who can we sub in at this point? All of that gets made even more complicated when you're also like, oh, and actually maybe a person we could have, put in here to plug this gap because they can do this and they can do that. And they would be a good sort of, middleman here. Oh, they're not here. So now someone else has to do that other move, and then, as you said, like when they finally then go into maybe what they are, finally this is my jam, it's like, but I'm really tired now. And
Right.
I've been doing a
I
lot
mean, at the
already.
end of the day, we aren't afraid to fail, because the faster that you fail with this, the faster we're going to learn how to make the adjustments that we need going into it. And as rookies, I think like the dumbest thing you could do is go into this with any type of arrogance. Like going into this space and being like, no, I'm prepared and I'm going to know exactly what to do. Like, no, things are going to fall apart. At one point, I was like looking at Paul on the floor, like, what do we do? So, going into it with a coach who like is not angry at us for falling apart over things that like maybe we should have had held together, and a team that was like kind of willing to just let those, let it roll off their shoulders and move on and like do well for the rest of the match. Those are really all key components of this team, and I think what's going to make the storyline awesome through the rest of the season, because you're kind of looking at what you saw is what I would consider a pretty chaotic mess. Like we fell apart, but we kind of rolled with it, came back in the match later, did well, and now we're kind of moving forward like, hell yeah, let's see what we can do next.
Yeah. Well, it seemed like you were having like, I mean, I mentioned already Paul's interview kind of mid match was like extremely positive and fun, and it seemed like you were all, you weren't kind of really beating yourselves up any more than any athlete beats themselves up when things aren't going the way they'd like, but it didn't seem like like the world was ending for you, but you were really just embracing kind of the situation you were in. So that was nice. And hey, it's match 1, you've got a lot more matches to come. So I mean, admittedly, you're going up against the Sharks next, which I don't think is an easy second match for anybody. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do there. Now Paul interjects saying it is an easy match, but I don't know. I have another question.
No grid team is an easy match. Every grid team is full of absolute monsters, and they're all humans that make mistakes. And there was a lot of mistakes that the Sharks made in their first match that like they can either clean up, or maybe the referees will catch it next time. And same way that we made mistakes, and it comes down to just who shows up and fucking gives it hell.
It is always like the hard thing in anything like this, where obviously every match there's a winner and a loser, or it's a draw. There's a winner or a loser, but like when you kind of pull back from the sport element of it and you just look at what the people are doing on the floor, you're like, every single person here is absolutely insane. They're like all phenomenal athletes. It's just a shame that this other athlete, who's also a phenomenal athlete and was teamed up with these people, they did slightly better in these races than these ones. But kind of like on an individual basis, it's so ridiculously impressive what everyone is doing on the floor.
It is.
And yeah, so well done all of you. I'm always impressed. I love watching at home. I did have a question, just because you've also mentioned, Danny, about your like kind of the circus skills and that sort of style of what you've been doing over the last few years. I think of that as quite like slow and graceful. Am I correct, or is there more like kind of fast-paced moving stuff that I'm not aware of? But do you understand what I mean when I think of like that?
I understand
style?
what you're saying, but I will just to clarify myself, is that I've never been an athlete that fit into a category, because I'm too much of a weightlifter for the circus space, and I'm too much of a circus athlete for the weightlifting space. It's just this weird fluid space I've always existed in within CrossFit. And I've built my entire career coaching based around that idea as well, so that if I had a big large male who was 235 pounds and they came to me and they had either an injury, or they wanted to work on mobility, or they wanted to learn a backflip, I was a much more approachable person, because I could match them where they were, on their weightlifting knowledge, on their strength and conditioning knowledge, but then also kind of feed in these little tidbits of like, hey, here's this like really fun circus training. On the same flip side, that I'm not intimidating to go into a circus studio. And when these girls are like, oh, how are you able to do this so easy? Then I'm able to kind of input this information of like, hey, this is what weightlifting can do for you. This is what strength and conditioning can do for you. This is what CrossFit can do for you. So I have like an advantage of being that type of athlete, and a disadvantage because it means that I'm like mediocre at everything and not like super, super, super awesome at anything. But when I was competing in CrossFit, my specialty was still handstand everything. So I think that there's like some video that exists in the abyss of me cranking out like 32 strict handstand push-ups at regionals after having to do like the world's most horrible run. And when the time calls for it, I am more of a fast twitch athlete, and I can do things pretty quick, and I can do them fast, and I can hurt really bad when I need to. And that's just the kind of thing that I have been missing in the last few years of my retirement. So as I kind of shift back more into grid training, the more that I'm leaning into this, it's going to hurt. It's not going to be pretty. And that's fine, because Paul doesn't mind my whining, and Lydia is just cute as ever and always there being so supportive.
Okay. It sounds like you're really enjoying coming out of retirement. I mean, I personally don't believe anybody ever retires in CrossFit. I think that's like every person that we've ever heard sort of, oh, maybe Matt Fraser seems to be the only one that's actually stuck to kind of retiring. But everybody who retires, you see them popping up all over the place doing stuff. So, enjoy coming out of retirement.
I mean, honestly, I decided my mother is 70 years old, and she came out of her own retirement to try to become a ballroom dancer, and she qualified to nationals within a year of doing so. And that kind of removed any possible excuse I could have for saying that I was too old to do anything. So as soon as Alec was like, hey, why don't you just come do this thing with me this season? I was like, well, I guess I'm doing this season. So it was more like the opportunity presented itself, and I jumped onto it, which I'm having a lot of fun. I don't think I ever retired from competing and was like, I'm done forever. I just wanted to focus on my own athletes. I wanted to teach everybody how to do handstands and how to do the splits and cool things with their legs. But I shelved that for a minute while I work on being fast.
Yeah. Like, oh, show me how you do that nice, slow, graceful. No slow and graceful anymore. Yeah. I'm fast now. That's it.
Yeah, it's funny because there's we have this his handstand complex that's coming up in our next match. And to be honest, you have to be pretty skilled at balancing yourself to not fall over. And it's funny because as I was teaching myself the complex, the first time I did it, it was way too slow. And Paul's like, you need to speed this up. And I'm in the background redoing the dumb complex. I'm like, just fucking. So, I understand that working the slow and gracefulness out of my movement pattern is going to take a second.
Okay. So that's just the one note you keep getting now is beautiful, wonderful, fantastic, faster. That's all we want.
Yes.
Is just do it faster. Okay.
Yes.
I suppose, Lydia, for you, this is more. So I'm losing my voice now. What's going on? I'm trying to match Danny's energy and I'm losing my voice. That's what happened. I guess for you, though, this has got to be great, because it's like you get to just embrace the bits you really enjoy of kind of competition and then get a rest almost in between, right?
Yeah. I was actually talking to Paul about this yesterday, and I actually grid was just never on my radar really at all prior to this season. And I was honestly surprised how much I enjoyed it, because it really just suits who I am. And with CrossFit, at least I struggle with asthma. And so that's been very challenging to just navigate and manage. But grid is definitely something that gives me a bit of a confidence booster, because it really is in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Okay. So the sprinting isn't a problem for you with the asthma?
No. The worst time frames for me are I'd say 12 to 20-minute workouts.
Oh, you've hit the time cap at that point.
Yeah.
That's 0 points at that point. You've not finished fast enough. I'm sorry.
I can go anything under 5 minutes. I'm good. I can go as hard as I can and be fine.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the ladder?
I actually didn't do.
You didn't do the ladder.
I didn't do the ladder this round because with everything else that I was doing prior, when I had practiced the thruster ladder, it was just too much. I was too, I got a little too worn out at that point. But I am on the next ladder here with the sandbags.
Is that the sandbag ladder? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
are, how tall are you?
I'm 5'8".
Oh, you're one of the lucky ones.
Well, we did a lot of sandbag practice the other day. 'Cause I was
I'm
throwing.
also 5'8".
Are you really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm also 5'8". I don't think I'm even 5'8".
part of the short kings, man.
Yeah. Well, it's just speaking to some of the athletes, they're very concerned about the height of particularly the final one. They're like,
Yeah.
I can just walk under it. It's no problem. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I was concerned about that. But
Yeah.
no, it's if there are 5'5" girls doing it, I have no excuse. So
So Danny, are you doing it?
I'm 5'3", so everyone is kind of giant to me.
Yeah. Yeah. On that last bag, if on the last bag, if you couldn't put the sandbag over it, you just like use it as a rig and just do some
Yeah,
like,
it would be
muscle ups or
pretty. I
something.
mean,
Show off.
it would look a lot like me trying to throw that wall ball to the target those last two tries.
Oh, see, I forgot about that fact that, like, yeah, also with the wall ball, if you're short,
I was jumping
it's
every
so much
single
fun.
rep.
Look, I'm always one of the shortest athletes, like in the class. Basically, whenever we have a class, I'm one of the ones that's, like whenever we have to partner up for squats or something, I'm always apologizing to whoever is with me. I'm like, I'm so sorry, you're going to have to go all the way down here to unrack the bar, but that's where I need it. So don't worry, I'm with you, and I hate wall balls as well. So
All the strongest people I know are short, so it's not a bad thing, especially not in
No.
our sport, to be short.
No, in fact, I remember there was a guy who started at the box, and I think like the first session we were back squatting, and then we came the next time, and we were going to do some bench, and we were like partnering up, and I was like, "Oh, can we partner up?" And he was like, "Oh, no, I saw you doing the squats," and I was like, "Hold on a second, squats and bench are very different, so you'll be absolutely fine. I'm terrible at bench. Let's partner up." Yeah. No, being short's fine. I have no issue with being short. It's absolutely fine. And as I'm not a competitive athlete, it doesn't affect me as well for that. So that's no problem. But congratulations, Lydia, on being tall. And Cassie jumps in and says, Slay, and don't worry, Danny, you're tall to me.
Oh.
There we go. So Paul's like leaning forward to read the comments. You're too far away. Okay. So
Hey, I'm getting old, man.
How old are you, Paul?
30.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Well, it's like Dan, you were saying, when you're an athlete, you're 30. I always forget that
when you have athletes like Danny, they age you like exponentially.
I'm older than you.
I want you still got your you sure you've got a CrossFit profile, Danny?
Me? I don't. Yeah, I do. I do. It's under BARRY though. Different name. I used to compete out of the Central Region on team. It was a great time.
So is it Danny Barry?
Yeah, it used to be Danielle Barry.
Oh, hold on.
And I was competing I used to compete out of a team in Chicago. I don't think I have much of a profile on there.
I'm just looking up your age. That's fine.
I think, I'm 31.
Oh, okay. I was looking for your age group on here. It's like, let's see. Oh,
No.
Your last recorded thing is 2019.
What did I sign up for the Open? I think I did one workout.
Yeah. I don't because it's your rank is dramatically lower than previous years.
Yeah.
North Central. Yeah. Okay. I do like, and I like how you filled out all of your benchmarks. We've got back squat, nothing, Chad, nothing, clean and jerk, no, nothing, no record, deadlift, nothing. So wonderful. Okay.
I'm a really organized athlete that keeps track of important data.
Yeah. Not even the right name. So like
I believe in intuitive fitness. Okay. So whatever your max is for that day is your max.
Your max. I mean, you're not wrong, right? Like if your max is something you lifted 5 years ago and you've never been able to lift it again, is it really your max? Like,
Well, so when I coach my athletes, and so I would be like Paul's biggest nightmare. So like if he's programming for his athletes like 90% in my class, I'd be like, okay, guys, on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to do what feels like a 9. And then people would be like, well, that felt hard. And I'm like, okay. Like that's kind of where my intuitive coaching aspect comes in, where science would probably argue with me.
Well, I don't know if science would argue with you, because that's like when doctors show you like the pain chart. Like, how much does
Correct.
it hurt on a like 1 to a 9?
However, you have taken a CrossFit class before, and you know damn well that most of those people, what they think is like 80% and what is actually 80% effort are two entirely different things.
But I think in both directions.
Oh yeah,
I think you've
you
got
get
somebody
people
going
who will
like
go day.
50% saying, yeah, that felt 80. And then somebody that's like 99 and they're like, yeah, it's probably an 80. And like, you can sustain that for 10 minutes? Yeah, I reckon. Then
Correct.
they cannot.
So I think it's a mark of a good coach if you can kind of help your athletes gauge the accuracy of their feelings to their energy output.
Yeah. So next time Paul's like, faster. You're like, well, that felt faster. That felt
Actually,
faster
yes.
to me.
I think we had a pretty similar argument like that the other day. He like came back at me and was like, look at how fast this athlete was doing it. And I was like, okay,
Yeah,
Paul.
I was about to say. I just go find somebody else doing it faster. I'm like, look, I'm not crazy. They did it. If they did it, you can do it.
Yeah. You've got to check that he's not speeding up the videos.
Yeah, they're not.
Stop
He makes a
giving
good
away my
argument.
secrets, Jason.
Yeah. Like, he's
Oh,
moving
God.
so fast, the clock's going faster. That's how fast he's going. That's incredible.
I post a lot of videos on Twitter for Grid because there's a weird little fan base there. And a lot of these people will come back and be like, this has to be sped up. This has to be a loop. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of haters out on the internet who don't believe that we're doing things as fast as we are.
Haters on the internet in the fitness space? No, I've never heard this.
Shocking.
Against the Venom? People that hate the Venom?
All right, well, let's open that can. How is the drama around the Venom this season, Paul?
The Venom is your favorite team's favorite team.
Your favorite team's favorite team. Okay, is that the reel you put up the other day where everyone is saying how much they love it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very animated team. I'll give you that. You're not sitting quietly in the corner. Like, everybody knows you're there, which I like. Yeah. Apart from Lydia, she is literally sitting quiet in the corner at the moment, which
We have a really good balance of characters because I think like Paul, myself, Eddie, like we've got Nick, like we've got some big personalities.
Yeah.
And then we have some like really great balancing. Like Lydia brings us back to earth, Alec brings us back to earth. We've got some characters that are like, all right.
Yeah. All things are like,
yeah, but don't
perfectly
discount
balanced.
what's going on in their brains. Like Lydia's always plotting something. She's just like the type that doesn't tell you what it is, and then all of a sudden, like you're like, what the hell? Like I thought you weren't even paying attention. Then nope.
Is that true, Lydia?
Yeah.
Yeah. This whole time we've been talking, you've been sitting there just like planning the bomb you were about to drop on the show. Yeah. Okay.
There's always something in my brain.
Is it hard? Like, because obviously you've got like, I mean, have you competed on teams before, Lydia, like at CrossFit events?
I've done some team stuff.
Lydia is an assassin. Interesting. It also says looking very fancy, Jason. Well, thank you. So you know why. You know why I've made the effort in recent years. You're to blame. So yes,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, you're good. I have done some team comps. I actually did Crescendo, I think is how you say it. In March, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm starting to, I think, like dip my toes a little bit more into the team side of things versus individually. I think I'm a little bit more suited for it.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I did my first team at Wadapalooza this year, so probably gonna do it again this next time around.
So how do you find it? Because obviously, like, these are like teams of 3, teams of 4, you know, and usually it's kind of people you know very well or that you've trained with for a long period of time. Now you're finding yourself in like a much bigger team with a lot of big personalities. As we've mentioned, like, how is that for you?
Oh my gosh, it is truly so much fun. I think, like, for me, I do put a lot of pressure on myself, and competing can be really stressful, and I sometimes deal with a lot of anxiety. And being on like a team of a bunch of people who are just so supportive, is it's just awesome. Like, it definitely helps take some of that pressure away. And I was a little bit nervous like this last match, but not in a way that I've ever felt before. I think like what really can make or break a team is just the personalities on a team. And I think that we have a really solid team. Like, there's no bad blood. It's just a group of like amazing people who are just so supportive of each other, and I think that's what makes it fun to be on.
Yeah, nice. How do I word this? So obviously, like, we see sort of a snippet of what's going on when we watch from home on the live stream, and then we kind of hear little things to the side of that. Obviously, you guys went up against the Breakers, that had some former Venom players on it. Now, obviously, you're both rookies, so like what happened in previous seasons, you're new here, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, well, like, you don't, like, you don't like me, you don't even know who I am.
Right.
I'm new.
Exactly.
Was that weird at all that you were kind of maybe found yourself caught in the middle a little bit of like, clearly something is going on here and it's a little bit heated between people, but kind of we don't really have anything to do with this?
To be honest, like, the other team, like, there were definitely some, I don't know, there were definitely some like little like messages that people were trying to send over, and apparently some people wearing anti-venom shirts. Like, I did not
So that's
even
something like,
realize
that's
any of
something
those
we
things were
heard
happening.
on the stream but didn't see,
Yeah,
obviously.
more
So
of
that's
like
the
just
kind of,
heard it going around. Like, it's more just things I've heard, but like, I met a couple people on the other team, and they were nice to me. So um it's, I don't know, I think it's just kind of funny. I didn't really like notice anything that was going on. I just heard things.
I guess that's any sport though, isn't it? There's like, you pick a sport and there will be teams that people love and teams that people hate for whatever reason, and then like, oh, I don't like this person because they're playing on that team, and you're like, well, last season they were playing on a different team and you
Yeah.
loved them, so what's changed? Oh, they're on a different team. That's sort of, I guess it's just weird because we've never, apart from Grid, we don't have that, like, like someone would be like, I like the Venom, and I don't necessarily know who's on the Venom. Like, I know some of the players. Whereas if you're looking at like a CrossFit competition, you'd be like, oh, I like this team, and these are the 4 people on the team, and that's why I like that team, because I know, it's more like I like these athletes, and these athletes have formed this team for this one competition. And you know what? Maybe the next competition they're on a different team, or they're the same athletes, but it's a different name, whatever it may be. Whereas with Grid, you've got teams and people sort of follow these teams, and then the athletes are changing, but if we're not aware of that, it's like, what's going on with this team or that team, but that's
At
so
the end
normal
of
in
the
other
day,
sports.
I mean, at the end of the day, you have a sport to sell.
Yeah.
And so in like most teams, and even like most notably like the WWE does this really well. Like, the storyline that you see, what gets used for marketing, what ends up in content, like, you have to give the fans something to identify your storyline with. And if you create villains and you create heroes, like, it gives people something to get riled up about. It gives a little bit emotional skin in the game for people. And like, I think that's really important when you're trying to build a fan base, especially in a sport like this. But when it comes to like the actual like interactions between players, like, there isn't bad blood, right? So that's kind of why I bring up the WWE, because there wasn't we didn't notice any of the drama that was happening. Didn't really notice the drama that was happening online either. And, when we're hugging it out and high-fiving at the end of these matches, it isn't genuine good blood. So when you see a lot of the chirping back and forth online, and I can only really speak for the rookies who haven't been a part of the drama as much, and so Paul, I definitely would love to hear your thoughts about it, being more directly involved. But from my end of it, I think this is an absolute brilliant part of the story. Please get online and talk your shit, because on game day, we're not really noticing it. We're back at home trying to hone in our skills and do the best that we can and bring the best foot forward onto that competition floor. But if you're someone who's just watching this and you need an entertainment value, yeah, you need your teams to be talking shit to each other. It's just kind of part of what gets you buying popcorn.
Well, I feel like Grid are embracing it really well, because they,
and that's why I
they
asked
will
Paul's thoughts, because that,
yeah.
let's an elephant in the room, the deliberate video. We were the only team that had a video made about personal drama. So yes, it is an absolute call out to our culture. And I think the best thing for us to do is just to be okay, yeah, and we didn't really affect that drama didn't affect us on game day or on the floor. And but I definitely think that there is a bigger story to buy into there.
Yeah. I Paul is mulling this over in his mind right now. He's thinking what to say.
Yeah, the only thing that affected us was the wall balls, really.
So Danny, it's all your fault again. Unbelievable.
Really? I know it was.
Yeah.
It's never
Lydia was the one that was the most concerned about the handstand ramp. She's like, I'm not gonna do it. I can't do it. And she actually was the one that got closest, just for the record. She got all the way up the stairs and then fell. I think Danny did that actually at one point when you did a flippy flip. But
yeah, the whole time it was up, and then I was falling off the side or
down,
on
down.
my head.
Yeah. Well,
I was very nervous.
That's
about the pullovers.
What were you saying?
I was very nervous about the pullovers too. But then we worked on it 2 days before the match or something, and I was like, oh wait, I got it now. But I was still a little nervous for that.
Yeah, those came out good. Going to the teams though, I think that's been one of the most fun things that I'm doing now as well, is creating more of a team brand. And what we all enjoy doing is having a lot of fun, but also making a lot of jokes. We're talking shit, it's not in any bad blood. It's more for fun and entertainment. And this shirt is going to be the shirt that we're actually going to put it up for a little flash sale today. On the back, I don't know if it flips the right way or something, but it says bet on us. And
right,
it's if you were betting on the Venom versus the Sharks, that would be a 500 to 1. You put in the $10 and you're like, whoa, I just won $500,000. So it deserves the hype and the energy for us to make these dramatic types of battles.
Yeah, and it is exciting. You want the drama, of course you do. I'm intrigued because Danny was talking about heroes and villains and good guys and bad guys. I do wonder where she sees the Venom in that ecosystem. If you guys are
I guess good and bad is a bad way to put that, because
heel and face, because you've gone wrestling.
Batman girl. I'm a Batman girl, so I'm a vigilante through and through.
Right.
And wherever you decide to stand on an argument is that's kind of up to players' choice. And I obviously Venom, I guess that kind of aligns a little bit more with the Joker, but still within the same energy of I don't know, we show up, we work hard, and we do what we say we're going to do, and we do it in an honorable way. We're not attacking anyone else's character. We're not the ones making videos talking about anybody else's front house management. But we are absolutely we're showing up and showing out a little bit more like a vigilante. So I would say that vibe is more along that line, and that type of person is going to trend set in a different way. So I'm hoping that we get this underdog storyline this season. I hope that we just keep going up from where we were, and more people kind of buy into the idea of yeah, maybe that bet wasn't the smartest bet. Maybe it was a high risk bet, but damn, I'm glad that I bet on them.
Yeah. It either pays off or you have a great story, right? That's it. You either win big or it was such a good story. Yeah. So I'm
I would say that like we probably have the most eclectic group of stories within our team. Like we have only gotten together 2 times, and everyone sits together and like asking questions about everyone's background. And we have everything from like professional athletes to kids that were homeschooled, to kids that were in and out of jail, to kids that are hanging off street posts. Like we have a lot of different stories, and I think that there's definitely a power behind that, and we want to use it to our advantage this season. And hopefully get some more sponsored attention.
Yeah, nice. Okay. And we'll just set you at chaotic neutral as your alignment, and we'll have it sort of there. We're not good, we're not bad, we're just in the middle. We're just causing chaos, and where it lands, it lands. Right? That's
What was one of the bits that we almost put on the shirt, Paul, about chaos?
There were so many.
Oh, degenerate chaos or something like that.
Oh.
It's like I don't know. It was like constructed chaos. Like it was something that like made sense. It was like organized chaos, something like that. Like we're definitely using the chaos to our advantage. So like yes, it is. It's yes, but in the idea, like chaos is not maybe a great thing for a lot of people. But if you know how to use it, I mean, that is a very, 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 very powerful thing.
Agree, Lydia?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. You don't strike me as
He was
chaotic.
a horseback rider. That is chaotic.
That
Oh,
is
have you
true.
seen
Yeah.
How big horses are? My God.
Yeah. And they have their own brain.
They
Like,
like if
you're
they're done with you, you're done. You're done. Are you
It's
joking?
true.
That you're not winning that argument even slightly. That is an excessively underrated chaotic sport, if I must say so myself.
It's true. It's there's a reason we're called crazy horse girls.
Yeah. Are you still as much a crazy horse girl? Do you still ride, or is that completely in the past now?
Not anymore. Not anymore. But I don't know. I would like to pick it up again. Like not competitively. I would just like to get on a horse every now and then,
Yeah.
because I do miss that a little bit.
Maybe have a quiet word with Mathers and be like, look, ring a race. I've got an idea. We bring in a couple of
Hey.
horses.
I am all for it.
Great ringer test.
Yeah. We have if you
She
jump
like
towards the
she
end.
burst
We
through
talked
the
about-
banner, like the backdrop banner, just
Yeah.
through the horse. Like
Yeah.
We talked about getting like if there was like we were joking about there being like a mechanical bull, and I would be put on that ringer.
That would be good. I
Yep.
mean, that would be fun. Would be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hey guys, I gotta jump off and go do some adult things and stuff. So I figure I'll leave you guys for a little more chaos. And Jason, great to talk to you again.
You too.
Wanted
Always
to
a
just say
pleasure.
these are going to be available on our website, LasVegasVenom.com. If you guys want to support the team a little bit, go grab yourself one of these shirts and bet on us, right?
Yeah. Okay. Do you ship to the UK?
I will.
You
I
will.
got you.
You got me. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
For you, Jason.
For me?
For you,
Yeah.
man. Come on.
Oh, thank you.
It'll
That's
be
what
like
I like to.
kind of an upgrade from the shirt you're wearing now because it's a Venom.
Hey, I put on a purple shirt because the Venoms were coming on.
Don't
Damn, I
take
couldn't
that
notice
shit
that.
from a man
This
in a
is-
flat brim hat.
this
Oh
is-
my God.
This is
Bye,
purple.
Paul.
All right. Bye, Paul. You've been ejected. We've removed him. We've removed him from the chat. Okay. He's still in the back room, so he can still hear you for now, but he'll be going soon. Anything you want to tell me about Paul quickly while we've got rid of it?
I think that him really preaching this bet on us brand is it's a good one, because he did take a chance on some of us rookies that I think other teams most likely wouldn't have. And so I'm just hoping this season that we're able to make him proud and show that bet was the right one to make.
I'm looking forward to seeing you guys go against the Bandits. I think that would be fun to see, like, because you've got a lot of rookies on your team. They are a rookie team, so I think that would be like obviously. So the last match you went against the Breakers, and there's kind of all this history between these, not so much between these teams, but more just certain players, and so that kind of was the story. Like whether wanted it or not, that was the story. And that's almost unfair for you because, as you said, like, that's it's got nothing to do with you. You're like, we're new here. We're like focused on what we're doing on the floor. Like, this doesn't matter. Your next match is against the Sharks, which is, going to potentially be the toughest match you play, all season, because they are kind of, when you're looking at these like power rankings that have been put out and things, they're they've got a massive roster, a deep roster. They had a great team last year. They've added to it. So it's like, that's going to be, a tough battle. I mean, if you beat them, that's a super upset. Like that's a story that will then, move it, like go for the rest of the season. We'll be like, wow, like Venoms did that. What are they going to do next? When they're going against a, quote unquote weaker team. But I'd kind of like to see just an opportunity where we get to see you really shine and be like, okay, here's rookies going up against rookies. Let's see, how good are they? Because that's what I want to see. But that's just me.
Honestly, I haven't even made it to this point in the sport where I'm super focused on the other teams or the players on the other teams. I'm fortunate enough to have friends on the other teams, and it's really only made it more exciting to like step on the competition floor with them, because when you have friends all over the country and all over the world, it is a really, really, really cool way to like get to work out with your people. But when you're going into this, like a lot of the skills that Grid is asking of us are brand new skills. These aren't like, you're not normally throwing sandbags over yokes that are that high. We're not normally doing these types of gymnastic skills. So going into it, like I am so focused on trying to hone in that skill and making sure that like I can just show up and do my part. That I haven't even like gotten to the part of the anxiety where like I'm fucking worried about anybody else.
Yeah.
And excuse my language, but like that's how I feel. Because I know, to your point, like we're stacked up against teams that are not only games athletes or professional athletes or pro level athletes on their own, but as a team, they're incredible athletes. It's at my rate, I'm just like, all right, girl, go out there and don't fall on your face.
But I think that's to my point, right? Because like, it's the same with any CrossFit or functional fitness or whatever it may be. Like, there's no interference between teams, right? You run your race. That's all you can do is you run your race. So you run your race as a team. And I think that's just my point is like, and it goes back to what I was saying before, like everyone's incredibly impressive. So like, Danny, just, scrolling through your Instagram, you clearly have some tremendous, skills in your locker that I cannot wait to see, applied on the grid.
I do think it would be fun for Grid to at some point implement maybe a little bit more of a head on head action. Like I was thinking tug of war. Like, I think it would be awesome for a ringer.
that would be
you send out like, a couple.
The whole
like,
team goes out.
Like, I think it would, like, there's some and granted, I'm ridiculous. I'm like, please throw show and tell into this. I want to see someone do, some cool circus tricks. But I do think something like that would be fun because CrossFit hasn't done that. Like, there hasn't been a component of competitive CrossFit where, like, you send people out in any sort of combative way or, like, head on head or head, whatever. So I think, like, tug of war would be awesome. You send a guy and a girl out for each team and they have to verse each other, or you do some bracket style. Like, that type of ringer would be super fun. And I think it would be really fun for the teams to maybe get a little bit more involved with their direct skill sets towards each other. But in the meantime, like, yeah, you're right. It really is it's run your race and be the best at it.
And I think that's not the problem, but like that's where then obviously like I want to see, like you'll do it and it'll be like, wow, that was fantastic. That was so, so amazing. If it's overshadowed because it just happens the person on the other side does it faster, it kind of, I guess it's a bit like how people watching Grid at home don't realize how fast it is. Like that's something some people always say is like, oh, when you watch online, you don't realize how fast it is. Even, and it's the same with people that don't do CrossFit, watching, CrossFit events and being like, oh, yeah, that's impressive. And you're like, no, but you don't realize how heavy that barbell is and what it means that they did 15 reps unbroken. Like that doesn't compute in your mind. And it's a little bit like when I see you do something, if you see someone else do it 10 seconds faster, 5 seconds faster, you're like, oh, okay. And it's like, yeah, but you don't realize how amazing what they did was because you saw someone else do it a few seconds faster.
That's
and
why I
maybe,
think our
or
ringer
maybe they didn't
tests-
even do it a few seconds faster. Maybe they did it slower, but they got to start before you.
That's
know,
why I
like
think the ringer tests
yeah.
are great, because you could, when you were watching her race, for the burpees to that ring touch, like for the people who are watching at home, like you can see on the floor what's going on, and I think that that's what is like so enticing for people to kind of get more involved with our sport, is because you can see judges got their hand up, 2 people on the floor, like they're going down, it's like 2-1, and it got close. And so you can kind of feed into that excitement, as opposed to, something like the triad that's a little bit longer. It is definitely a little bit more confusing to watch and understand what's going on. So it's nice that there's like both components that we have kind of sprinkled in for people to kind of follow along. Some a little bit easier workouts mentally, and then some that are kind of just a little bit more for us.
Yeah. I mean, that ringer, so the burpee to ring touch, I commented on that post because we've talked about that like last season, the season before as well. I've talked with ones like Arthur is obviously super tall, so that's kind of his jam. But we always say about how that's like one of the hardest ringer races because could these guys beat the Houston Bandits? Here's a question. Could these guys beat the Houston Bandits? Well, that's what we're waiting to see. That will be coming up in the future, hopefully. But spoilers, next week, same time, we've got John Young and Matt on to give us their opinion on the Houston Bandits. Whether they might say they can win. Let's see. But the ring touch, it's like you have to clearly hit the ring, so so don't get a bad rep.
Yeah.
If you hit it too hard, then the ring starts swinging, and now you're chasing a ring, and then you get frustrated and you start swiping at it. So I mean, you played that. Wait a second. Marissa May is on this team, right? Marissa
Yeah.
with one. Yes. Yeah. Has he just pulled up the there are a few others.
That's our girl.
Wow, small world. Why is it a small world? Okay, we're all on tender hooks for Augustus to tell us why it's a small world, but
Thanks for looking at our roster. It's stacked.
yeah. Is everyone showing up next? I know. I know her. Okay.
Sick. We'll tell her you say hi.
We assume that you will be there in person then at the next. Gus knows everyone. Well, there we go. Corey, you also seem to know everyone, so that's interesting. Who's saying that? Okay, so I was going to ask you because you just talked about all the different matches and races, and the chaos, and some are for you, and some are for the fans, and some are easier to follow and harder to follow. Have you sort of found your favorite of the formats so far?
Yes,
The
you mean
sprint relay at the end.
Oh,
The sprint relay at the end.
Yeah, I think that one is my favorite.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just reading it. It's just saying how he knows her. Okay. What about you, Lydia?
oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I might have to agree.
So you're both just killing time until the sprint relay.
Pretty much.
No, it's
I
like
mean,
hanging
I'm
on for dear
excited.
life until the sprint relay.
I'm excited for the 165 snatch and sprint for the next match.
Yeah.
This is my favorite sprint relay for sure.
Yeah, I think this will be a lot of fun.
Yeah. What do you know? What you'll be? Are we allowed to know what you'll be doing in the sprint relay? Like what you personally will be doing, or is that team secret?
Oh wait, that's a good question.
I mean, I don't know. The handstand girl is probably doing the handstand.
Paul's not on the show anymore, so you know if it's a secret strategy,
that's true. If we get in trouble.
Well, that's what happens when you leave the rookies to fend for themselves.
Yeah. So I've got to quickly pull up this comment. Like Corey said,
training.
I like Danny's hair. Yeah, that'll be your next team meeting.
Yeah. Media training.
Yeah. I'll be on the snatch.
Yes. Okay.
So that'll be fun.
So you'll be snatching and you'll be handstanding. These are pretty safe guesses, right?
Yeah. I think that's a pretty safe guess on that one.
And you will remember the 4-point touch before going over.
I better.
Gotta slap that ground.
Yeah. How have you found like all the little nuances of kind of, oh, you know, the reps aren't counting because you're not standing in the right spot, you know, on the like flat forward, or some strange noise coming
It's
over the
just
microphone for some
different.
reason.
It's just different. It's learning, when you go to CrossFit competitions, like you have a judge that might have a preference for certain things. It's just kind of like learning what they're looking for so that you can achieve the reps to their standard, So like if you have to keep your elbows through on a front rack a little longer, then that's what you just do. I don't know if there's much room for like emotions or opinion on it. So when we're training, it's like he just says, smack the ground here, 4-point touch, make body contact here, run here, pivot here, turn this way into the bar, So there are a lot of rules to follow, but I think for the most part, we're doing okay with them.
Yeah. I think it's more the rules when you're not active. Because I think when you're doing something, it's like you're saying, like, okay, this is a movement standard. It's very easy to kind of, we're used to, well, there's a movement standard. So this is, when the rep's complete, it should look like this. It's more like, oh, your partner's working and you need to be over here. Or, oh, you can't cross the line. You've crossed the line. Now the reps don't count. Or like all of those little things. And it is quite often the going back to the start line, or going to, like, you see it sometimes. I think it happened, I can't remember which team did it, but one of the Danny's gone. One of the one of the ringer races, they ran the wrong way at the end. They did the movements, dropped down, and then sprinted back towards the start line instead of the finish line.
Right.
Don't know what's going on with Danny.
Oh.
She's gone. She's completely gone. Okay. While she's gone, Lydia, so how was I was gonna say BF3, that's the British one. How was the IF3 for you in Budapest?
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, is she back?
Well,
I really enjoy it.
Oh.
I'm back.
She's back. Oh, what happened?
I don't know. I just got technology isn't always my friend, but you take the punches and you move on.
Yeah, your mic's not working properly now either.
Oh my God. Well, this might be my sign to hop off.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's probably a good time to wrap things up now. Anyway, hold on. I'm just gonna mute Danny for a second. Okay, good. I'll bring you back in a minute. I was gonna say, well, Lydia was just telling us about IF3 very quickly, but we can, if you want to hop off a second, Danny, or you can stay on and listen. I don't know what you want to do. We're gonna wrap it up in a few seconds anyway. She's gonna listen in. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so let's just finish with that. So you were part of the USA team that went over. I spoke to a few of your athletes that were there. I don't know if I spoke to you now. I'm trying to think, like, did I? What a shame. I feel really bad now. Don't take it personally. I spoke to the two sisters.
Ashley.
Yes.
Ashley and Katie, yeah.
Yes. So, and also mum and dad as well.
Yes.
Like, had interviewed the whole family by the end of the day.
Yeah.
And who was it? I can't remember his name now.
Steve?
He shout. No, begins with a C. What is his name? He used to Old Guy Inc. I don't remember his name now. But literally, when you were doing the ceremony, walking out, all the different, the opening ceremonies, like all the different teams were walking out, all the different countries. It's all very kind of, grandiose and special, and everyone's representing their country. Clay, that's his name. As he walks out, he sees me, and we'd spoken a lot in the past online, and he just shouts like across the room, "Oh, Jason Smith!" I was like, "There we go. That's it. That's all I needed." But I didn't get a chance to speak to you. But how was the experience, like being there? Similar to like being part of the Venom, where you're kind of part of a team and you're doing things individually. This was it was like an individual competition, because you were, running your own race individually, but you're sort of part of a team representing your country. Like, how was that whole experience? I spoke a lot to the British athletes, so I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
It's a lot of fun. I've done it 3 times. So the first time was actually my second competition in Mexico. I think it was in 2022, and I competed in the 19 to 20-year-old age category. And yeah, and then the next year I aged out of that and had to move on to the open division, and that was very humbling. And so this past year that I went, my goal was just to beat myself and just do better than I did the year before, um and I did do a lot better. Like it's cool because it's been a really good marker, I think, of just progress. I like that the tests are just very they're different. They obviously change every year, but I feel like it's just very it's nice to have something that's consistent with just the 6 different
Yeah.
categories.
So you're focused. They're more focused, aren't
Yes.
they? So here's your
Yes. Yeah.
endurance, here's your strength. Yeah. But yeah,
Yes,
wonderful.
I do really like that aspect of the whole movement, and I think it's really cool. It's obviously like grown a lot over the years, and yeah, it's a good time.
Awesome. Will you be like doing it again this year, or is grid and
Um,
everything else taking up too much time?
I'm actually not doing it this year. I am doing a qualifier for a different one in Europe the end of this year. So I'm in the middle of qualifiers right now. So we'll see what happens.
A different one in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
A big one in Europe?
Yes.
A really
Yeah.
big one?
The Lowlands.
Oh, that's pretty
Yes.
big. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll
Nice.
see. Yeah, just doing the qualifier right now, and it's like a month long, so we'll
Yeah.
see.
Okay.
It's a lot on top of grid right now, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, grid, as you said, it's just short bursts, so you'll be
It's
absolutely
true.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Let's just see if Danny's mic's working again. Hi, Danny.
Hi.
Oh, you sound perfectly clear now. Beautiful.
Let's go.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I just wanted to bring you back just to thank you for your time and all the best in 2 weeks, right? Like, not
10
this
days
coming
from
Saturday, but
today. It's the 4th. We've got 10 days.
yeah. Okay, so
Too soon.
Wait.
Oh, you don't like the purple cravat? Yeah, that really struck fear in me at that point.
Good.
Okay.
Bet on us. Well,
All
thank
right.
you so
Well,
much for your time. I really appreciate
you
it.
very
Thank
much.
This has been a lot of
you.
fun.
Wonderful. Thank you everyone for jumping in the comments, particularly at the end there. I'll be back. I would say half an hour from now, whatever time it is where you are, next week. So same day, but in half an hour from now, and I'll be on with Matt Ratte and John Young of the rookie Houston Bandits team. So that will be fun because then it will
From
be even
failed
less time.
handstand ramp to most successful handstand ramp.
Yeah. I like balance.
That's quite the
Perfectly
leap.
balanced, right?
You did there. I see what you did there. I'll definitely tune in.
Yeah. I'll say to him, Danny might be listening. Have you got any tips? She's not very good upside down. She struggles.
Oh God. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Do you know Jonathan?
Oh, hi. One of the best CrossFit photographers in the world. My goodness. Absolutely.
Okay. Look at that. Put that on a t-shirt right now. All right. Thank you, everyone. So as I said, yeah, back next week. And then I'm guessing the Monday after that, we'll have a recap show where I once again hopefully have some representatives from the different teams. Maybe one of these lovely ladies will be back. Who knows? I've not asked them yet. But it'll be interesting to get their opinion on what happens at the next match. So thank you, everyone, and see you all hopefully next week. Thank you
Thanks
again,
so
Lydia
much
and
again.
Dan.